Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 31 of the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast. I'm Christine.
And I'm Sam.
Hey, I hope everybody had a great holiday. This is the first time, I guess, in I don't know how long, that Easter, Passover, and Ramadan
all fell at the same time.
Yes,
that's actually quite rare.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
It is very cool.
So we were all, at least people who are within those three categories, all were celebrating this weekend.
Yes, and there's much to celebrate. So
yeah. So we went to my sister's to celebrate Easter with my family, and boy howdy, did she put on a feast of almost completely solely vegan food. It was so good.
It was.
Yeah, she made vegan collard greens, which were fantastic.
Yes, the collard greens were amazing.
Yeah. She invented this potato dish, which I immediately asked for the recipe for, which was like potatoes and leeks and mushrooms, and it was just
roasted garlic.
So good.
It was very good.
So good.
Yeah.
What else did we have?
We had some asparagus.
We had, roasted asparagus with balsamic, which was delicious.
Yep. And asparagus is one of my favorites, so that's always welcome.
Yeah.
And then you made us some Brussels sprouts.
I made some roasted Brussels sprouts. Roasted Brussels sprouts. Roasted Brussels sprouts with whole garlic and onion. And I cooked for the first time we tried I think it was a field roast.
It was field roast.
Celebration roast. And it was okay.
Yeah, not my favorite of the roasts that we've tried. I think I far prefer Gardein or even Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
But this had an interesting texture and an interesting flavor. It felt more like sausage than it felt a celebration roast.
Right. And it does have a sausagey flavor.
Yeah. So I think it'll be really good. Like the leftovers that we have, I think it'll be really good kind of chopped up and incorporated into like a tofu scramble.
Yeah, I think
it should be really
that's
good.
what I'm going to do, like incorporate it into a tofu scramble and make us like breakfast wraps with it or something.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was okay. But I really want to learn to make my own like celebration roasts.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up there along with vegan paneer.
Right. And this goes out to somebody we follow, and they follow us on Instagram. Should have been Chef. I'm shouting you out right now because I asked her for her. She made a vegan ham, like a seitan-based vegan ham, and it looked delicious.
Cool.
And she said she was going to try and give me the recipe.
All right.
Yeah, she said she had it scrawled in a notebook somewhere, barely legible, and that she was going to try and I guess maybe write it out or something, so that I could try it. And I'm hoping that happens because I'd really like to. I really want to make my own, and I guess I've just been a little bit afraid to put that kind of investment. And what I have to do is like make it for not a special occasion,
right? Oh, absolutely.
So that
you don't want your first try to be a special occasion where there's some pressure there.
Yeah, and
where
then
you
have
really
it be
want the meal to be good. That has just the first time just has to be like you and me, and it doesn't matter if it fails.
If it fails, yeah, because that would be very sad.
Yeah, it would upset you. It would not be a good. It would not be a good.
Then
time.
Yes, but for dessert.
Oh, the dessert.
Talk about dessert.
Oh. Dessert was fantastic. First, of course, I will shout out my lovely wife for making a beautiful chocolate pie.
Yeah,
so kind of a chocolate mousse pie.
I made a chocolate mousse pie. Most of the recipe came from a Candle 79. Candle 79.
The Candle Cafe Cookbook.
The Candle Cafe Cookbook. Rest in peace. All the candle restaurants in New York have closed. Mainly due to gentrification, which is terrible. But yeah, we have one of their cookbooks I think Sam bought at some point when she was somewhere.
I did. I bought it in Keene, New Hampshire in 2004.
We only know that because the receipt was still in the book.
The receipt was still in the book. Go figure.
So the part of the recipe came from their mousse pie. Chocolate mousse pie recipe, but they do like a standard pie crust, and I wanted to do a graham cracker pie crust. So I did a graham cracker pie crust. My first attempt, which for some reason failed miserably. I mean, like, this is a graham cracker pie crust. It's nothing complicated.
No, but you know how baking is. Sometimes things go wrong.
I followed some recipe online and it was flawed. And I should have known because, like, I'm like, this isn't right.
Well, for a graham cracker crust, all you need is graham crackers
and butter, usually. Yeah. But this recipe incorporated a little bit of plant milk, and that seemed to, like, ruin it. So I took that out.
That would be a little strange.
Yeah.
That amount of moisture.
Yeah, that's what happened. And then in the oven, everything just kind of went out the bottom.
Yeah.
It was just kind of bubbling. I'm like, it's like I'm making cereal or something. It was weird. So I dumped that out and I made it again, and it turned out great.
Yes, it was. It was lovely. It was absolutely lovely.
And the mousse pie, as long as you keep it cold, because when I brought it to my sister's, I failed to, like, put it in a refrigerator or leave it out in the garage where it was cool or something. And it got a little too soft.
Got a little too soft.
But it sets up really nice in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And then on top of that, our wonderful friend Savannah made a vegan gluten-free carrot cake.
It was delicious.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Just to die for.
Yeah.
Now, carrot cake is one of those things that it's not something that we have often. We might have carrot cake
once a year, maybe.
Maybe. I'm not even sure it's that often. So when we do have it, like, for me, it feels like a special treat. I love that spicy, savory, sweet combo. It's just really, really wonderful. So major props to Savannah for making her cake not only vegan but gluten-free.
It was I think it was the best carrot cake I've ever had.
It was way up there.
Yeah.
It was way up there. I mean, it was nutty and spicy and sweet, and the frosting was perfect.
Yeah.
That's where carrot cake goes wrong for me.
It can fail if the frosting is too sweet or something.
A lot of the time, because the frosting gets too sweet, and oftentimes there's too much of it.
Yeah, it's either too sweet and too thick.
Yeah.
Or not sweet enough and too, like, cream cheesy, because I've never been
a fan of the cream cheese.
I've never been a fan of cream cheese frosting.
Yeah.
And this was just perfect.
It was
perfect.
Absolutely perfect. So major props to Savannah. Go Savannah.
Yes, go Savannah. Got to get that recipe too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it was delicious. So we had a really nice Easter Sunday.
We did, and it was really chill, just kind of hanging out with the family and
lots of good
talking
food
and playing some games.
And we played some games after.
It was great.
Yeah, so I hope you all had a good holiday weekend, whether or not you were celebrating a holiday. I hope you had a good weekend.
Yeah.
Filled with fantastic food, the way ours was. I'm going to move on, and we're going to talk about this week's recipe, which I kind of cheated. I had cauliflower, and I wanted to do something with cauliflower, and I scoured our cookbooks for a recipe that I wanted to make with cauliflower, and nothing really was floating my boat. So I got this recipe off of a food blog.
Well, I don't think that's cheating. You're still getting a recipe and following it.
Right.
It counts.
Yeah. So I got this recipe from Vegan Heaven's food blog. It's a vegan cauliflower taco, which I love cauliflower tacos. And this is like a buffalo cauliflower taco recipe. And I've made a few different buffalo cauliflower taco recipes. This one so far is my favorite.
I think this is my favorite of the ones that we've tried so far. And to that point, we've actually had this recipe twice this week.
Well, the first time I
just
made
had
it
for dinner today as well.
Yeah, we had it today. We had it a few days ago, last week or something. And the reason I remade it was because the first time we made it, I didn't have quite enough buffalo sauce. So the cauliflower wasn't as buffalo-y as I wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. Wasn't as saucy as I wanted it to be.
Today, it was perfectly saucy.
Today was perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't over-sauced.
No.
It was just perfectly sauced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was perfectly sauced.
Yes. It's a very good recipe.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, really good. So that's Vegan Heaven food blog. And you can find her on Instagram too at Vegan Heaven. And her name is Sina. And she's a former high school teacher who is now a full-time food blogger, recipe developer, and food photographer.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Go Sina.
Yeah, her blog is really cool. So check her out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it was, tacos are great. You can't go wrong with tacos.
You really can't. They're one of those foods that, seriously, I think we could probably have tacos every day. And
I could have tacos every day.
That. Like, completely fine with that.
Some different variety on tacos every day. I'd be fine with that.
I would miss salad after a little while, but
I mean, salad tacos.
Salad tacos. Yeah.
Well,
But
I'm
yeah,
a huge fan
I
of,
just love tacos.
I'm a huge fan of tortillas. So anything in a tortilla.
Works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah. So another thing we wanted to talk about, not to shift gears too abruptly, but we are going to shift gears abruptly now. I don't know if you saw that there was a article about beef that is labeled antibiotic free that apparently they've discovered is not antibiotic free. So this was an article in the Washington Post, and the headline of the article is "Some beef," and this is in quotations, "raised without antibiotics tests positive for antibiotics in study. Naturally raised meat commands a huge financial premium. Consumers may not be getting what they pay for."
I don't really think this comes as a huge surprise. I mean, I think for the most part, when meat is labeled as being raised free of antibiotics, it means that they are not specifically injected with antibiotics, but there
supposedly
can and often is antibiotics in the food.
There's antibiotics in their feed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I think, that doesn't surprise me at all, to be completely honest.
It says 10% of the cattle came from one of the cows. Wait, 10% of the cattle came from lots where one of the cows sampled tested positive for antibiotics. It doesn't seem like there's a huge amount being testing positive for antibiotics, but the fact is that they are that any of it, that any of this beef is testing positive,
right?
Because this is a USDA label that you will find on animal flesh in stores.
Yes, that's correct.
So basically, you can't trust what's on those labels. You can't trust. We already know you can't trust grass fed
or cage free.
Cage free, which is just greenwashing.
It's a little ridiculous.
Yeah. And now antibiotic free, which you can't trust that either if you're concerned about that. We're not concerned about it because we don't eat animal products. But right. I think people that are still eating animals need to be aware that there is no good way to do this.
No. I mean, I think we've said before that before we were vegan, we were very conscious of purchasing meat that was cage-free, grass-fed, organically grown, all of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of those wonderful lefty labels. And it wasn't any better for us, for the animals, or for the environment.
Yeah.
And once we learned that, that was the day we went vegan.
Yeah. You feel duped and kind of brainwashed,
Well, I mean, I think it's easy to feel that way. I mean, we all know that advertising for these products, for animal-based products that are incredibly unhealthy, and in some cases quite addictive.
Yeah.
Advertising starts when we are incredibly young. They try to hook us as kids.
Yeah.
With drinking milk and ice cream and
McDonald's.
McDonald's. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's endless.
Happy Meals.
Yeah. So sure. It's ingrained. It's absolutely ingrained.
It can be.
Yeah. We're fed that stuff from the time we are capable of watching and listening and understanding.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that we don't always recognize the lie when we see it.
Yep.
Yeah,
so there's a paragraph in this article that says this person, Lowe is his last name, and he is from an organization called Food ID. He said that the study is indicative of broader problems. He said consumers believe the antibiotic. Why can't I talk tonight? Believe the antibiotic-free meat industry is trust but verify, but it's actually more don't ask, don't tell.
Well, I think that's true for the animal agriculture complex in general.
Yeah.
You know, we all know that it's not an industry that is transparent.
Yeah.
With their practices.
Right.
So, again, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and then it goes on to say the USDA's oversight is laissez-faire. They test such a small fraction, it can't even be taken seriously. And they rotate the drugs they are testing for because they can't afford to test for all of them. They just don't have the funds to do it. We raise 9 billion animals, and they test hundreds of cattle. Not even thousands, hundreds of cattle.
So it's an incredibly
small
small
percentage. Out of 9 billion animals, hundreds are tested to see if they have antibiotics in their system.
Right, and so if 10% of the hundreds are coming up positive for antibiotics, chances are it's a much more widespread problem
it's a much huger number, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. This says, for example, the USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Service tested 754 head of beef cattle in 2019, testing for maximum residue limits using detection limits that focus more on levels that present immediate danger to human health. The antibiotics found in the lots at the slaughterhouse facility in the study were not considered at levels harmful to humans' health in isolation, but many health experts worry about repeated and protracted exposure, which we've all been hearing about. Antibiotics are not going to work anymore.
Because we're almost in a post-antibiotic society.
Yeah, we're so way overexposed to them in the food that we eat.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's a huge problem.
Big problem.
I mean, germs are real. You can still get an infection on your finger and die.
Yes.
If there isn't an antibiotic to fight the infection.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Just another reason out there to not eat these precious animals.
Yes, it's true.
Right?
As if we needed another reason.
Yeah, we don't need another reason,
one.
But, I just thought I'd bring that to everyone's attention. If there's still people out there that are listening to us that are, omnivores or maybe still...
vegan curious.
Yeah, still considering veganism and haven't...
taken the leap yet.
Yeah, haven't quite taken the leap. I just know that aside from it's just... in my opinion, ethically wrong to eat these animals. It's unhealthy, not just because meat in general is unhealthy, but because you're being lied to about what's in the meat that you're eating.
Right.
So there's that. What else did we want to talk about? Oh, did you want to talk a little bit about Ahimsa, or do you want to talk a little bit about the documentary we watched, Meet the Future, first?
Well, I mean, it makes perfect sense, I think, going off of the conversation we just had regarding the antibiotics and the, having just one more reason not to torture, kill, and eat animals. We can talk about Ahimsa for a second. What do you want to know about Ahimsa?
So, how do you define Ahimsa? I define it as just do no harm, but that's a pretty plain definition.
Yeah.
Pretty general definition.
Yeah. Direct translation from the Sanskrit is actually nonviolence or non-harming. So you're right on target, really. For me, Ahimsa is so multifaceted. And I think a lot of people who think of the concept of ahimsa think immediately of not causing physical violence.
Right.
And usually people will think of that in relationship to other humans. I take it to mean physical violence against any other creature, any other sentient being.
Yeah, that's how I take it to mean too. I mean, do no harm is do no harm.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes. And then also it's not just about beings. It's about the environment. It's about not harming yourself in any number of ways. You know, for example, we're really good at human beings about being incredibly self-judging, and we do a lot of negative self-talk.
Yeah.
And we can be incredibly hard on ourselves, but also we can make choices that we know are not good for us.
Sure.
You know, for example, how many years did both of us smoke?
Right.
That is not ahimsa. Smoking is not
Thank
even
God
remotely.
we don't do that anymore.
Thank heaven we don't do that anymore. So yeah, it's making intelligent choices with what you consume and simple things like what you eat, what you drink, how much sleep you get, how much time you spend on your mental health and your overall well-being.
Yeah.
You know, so I really find Ahimsa to be, it's probably my favorite little branch of the 8 limbs of yoga.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah. It's the first of the yamas, and I just absolutely love it. I talk about it a lot in my yoga classes, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it's an easy concept to wrap your brain around, right?
Sure. And it's
the whole just do no harm thing.
Absolutely. And it's also universal.
Yeah.
I mean, spiritually, that seems very, very simple. It's not a simple thing to practice.
Not completely, no.
Not completely. I mean, veganism is a great, great starting point, because as soon as you make that commitment to live a vegan lifestyle, you're immediately cutting down exponentially on the amount of harm that you cause to the world. That being said, it's impossible for any of us to move through the world causing no harm. And frequently the harm that we cause is unintentional. For example, last week I went outside as I was on my way to work. I went outside and I brought the trash cans up, and it had rained the night before. So our driveway was covered with worms.
I always throw them in the yard.
No, there were too many. There was just no way, you know, and I had places to be, and, you know, so I was very, very conscious of, as I was bringing the garbage cans up, I'm trying to wheel them around the worms, and I'm going, I'm sorry. Like, I'm so sorry. And then I'm backing the car out through the driveway, and I'm like, I'm sorry, worms. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
You know, and I can hope that I didn't hit many of them. And
hopefully not.
That,
but sometimes you also have to remember that that's nature's way of feeding the birds that have migrated here in spring.
Yes, absolutely.
Mainly
but
the
I
robins.
still don't have to like killing worms.
No, I don't like killing worms. I usually, if I find one on a sidewalk or something, I'll toss it into the grass.
Yes, one, but we're talking about dozens.
Yeah,
that were
before you're on your way to work. You're not going to stop and clear the driveway of worms.
Dozens of worms. No, it just wasn't practical in the moment. So, you know, we do cause harm, but there are many, many ways that we can actively choose not to, and veganism is certainly one of them. Also, I think it's really important, and as you all know, Christine is our social media maven. Maven here at Compassion and Cucumbers, because I absolutely hate social media.
Yeah, Sam does not like social media.
I do not social media. I think it's one of the most toxic forces in the world now.
It can definitely be.
And I think that it's not that I don't think it doesn't have potential for good. Obviously, it does have potential for good. Yes, it can connect people, and yes, it can get, you know, word out about some really wonderful things. And I have no problem with that. But in general, I feel like the way social media is used is so incredibly toxic. I can't deal with it. Like, it just, for me, I look at at Facebook and I feel like I'm being barraged with negativity and anxiety and, you know, the desire to compare oneself to other people. And it's just meant to make you feel like crap. And so, like, that's how I feel about it.
If it's meant to, but it certainly it can. Yeah.
And so
if you're looking at, you know, at it in that way.
Right. Yeah. And also, to me, it's so incredibly superficial. A lot of
also,
the time.
it can be.
Yes.
I mean, you have to
dig. You have to dig,
and you have to take a lot of what you see with a grain of salt.
Certainly.
Because, well, number one, like, I mean, I'm at an age, and you are shortly approaching an age where, of course, look, there's a lot of really young and pretty people on social media.
Sure.
And they're all using filters of some sort.
Sure.
Not all of them, but a lot of people use filters, and, you know, so it's like, people are not perfect. We are not.
No, of course not.
You know, you don't walk around photoshopped in your daily life.
Oh, God,
you
no.
know? And thankfully, I'm of an age where I'm really starting to not care about that anymore.
Oh, no, I actually don't care.
Yeah, right. So that's kind of liberating when you reach a certain age.
Where you can accept that you are neither young nor pretty.
Right. Right. Like, I used to be cute, but,
right.
you know, when I'm older now and I have to own that, you know,
exactly. And that's completely
fine. I have to own that I have a few extra pounds on me and some wrinkles around my eyes and, you know, my hair is a little thin in places now and
seriously gray on my end.
And you get gray. And, I mean, I think part of that is really, some of it is really liberating, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And then, you know, there is a little part of me to be, to be young again.
Yeah, I don't really have that.
But I wouldn't want to be young in today's world.
No.
I'm like, to be in the 70s again.
Well, right. I mean, if I could go back to the
70s and 80s.
Late 80s into mid to late 90s, like, that'd be okay. But
I don't want to go back.
No, definitely not. But anyway, what I was saying about social media was that
I digressed.
You did, and that's okay. You know, you're allowed. And besides, you know, I still think you're cute. So hey,
see, I think you're cute too, and that's all that matters.
There you go. So
as long as you have somebody that thinks you're cute.
That's right. But far more important even than you being cute is that you're just, you know, you're really funny. And
that makes up for it.
Really, well, no, I mean, funny has always been at the top of my list. It really has.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, but you're really funny and you're just a really kind, loving person. And so I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you.
So there you
go.
So
are you.
Thanks. But anyway, again, we digress.
Again, sorry.
So going back to the social media issue, I feel like so many people use it as a means of making themselves feel better by harming others in some way, shape, or form, because you're not causing the kind of harm that you actually have to face. You don't have to stand in front of that person and say, yeah, I said that about you.
Yeah, I've never really been, and of course you never been, and really nobody I know is that person who like says kind of nasty things on people's posts, but they're definitely out there. You know, people are definitely out there that, you know, you call them keyboard warriors, whatever you want to call them, that are, that somehow get a little bit of a cheap thrill by taking people down a peg in their mind.
Yeah.
You know, and saying nasty things that they would never say to them if they were face to face.
Right. And I think a lot of that comes from insecurity and, you know, the feeling that social media gives you a little bit of cover to hide behind, you know? And so that to me is an incredible violation of the idea of ahimsa. But at the same time, and I digressed again, but I guess that's the...
The title of this week's episode is We Digress.
We digress. But going from the idea of ahimsa really being a universal concept, if you look at any of the major world religions, all of them are based almost primarily on that tenet, the idea of doing no harm, of treating others as you would have them treat you, et cetera, et cetera. So it really is just this wonderful, beautiful, universal ideal. And it's one that we as a human race have a hard time meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's personally my favorite thing. And I know that that's kind of the tenet around which I choose my words and I choose my actions as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate that about you. You are very careful about what you say to people or, you know, how you treat people. You just, you know, you're a kind person.
Thanks.
Yay, love fest.
Yay, love fest. Yeah.
And I like to think that generally people are kind, you know?
Well, I think they are. I really do. I think that they are, but I think that popular culture these days makes us forget that. I think the more involved we become in popular culture, in reality television, in like the advent of reality television was like the death of kindness in the human race, I think.
Yeah.
I think there's a pretty heavy correlation there, to be honest.
You might be right. Nothing against people that like reality TV, but I just cannot wrap my brain around how people find most reality TV entertaining.
Right.
When so much of it is just people being evil to each other and saying nasty things to each other. And I don't know if it's because maybe it makes people feel like they're better people.
I don't know what it is.
Better than those people on TV. So,
but I think that type of programming has definitely given certainly the population of the United States and possibly the world permission to do exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, if this is what the people on TV are doing,
yeah.
if this is how they're treating each other, maybe that's how I should treat other people because look, they're rich and famous. And maybe if I treat people this way, I'll be rich and famous too.
The Kardashians said it was okay.
Oh, good God. Yeah. And I just don't understand that at all. And I can't engage with it.
No, we don't engage with it. We don't have regular network television, and I never choose that sort of programming in any of our streaming platforms because I just, it's a real study in how a society can go wrong, I think.
For sure.
A lot of that.
For sure.
A lot of that stuff. You know?
And again, I think a lot of those ills can be cured, again, by just the concept of ahimsa. And doing of conscious ahimsa, not just saying, oh, yes, I practice ahimsa and, you know, XYZ, this is how I do it, but actually making it a mindful part of your everyday life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
great.
And granted, we're all imperfect. I mean, please, we had a conversation over Easter dinner yesterday that even though I'm such a mellow-tempered human being, once every 3 years or so, I can get really, really angry. And
yeah, we did have a conversation.
And when I do, it's not pretty.
On Easter, at Easter, about how people differently express their anger. And, you know, I come from a family, and I don't know if it's an Italian thing or if it's just my family, but when we get mad about something, we express it right then and right there.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or not to be expressing it. And Sam kind of comes from a family, or at least herself.
I think it's more myself than anything else. I really do.
She buries things.
It's true.
And very rarely shows anger, but when she does, oh my God, look out. It's like,
it's ugly.
You don't want to be there.
No, you don't. You really don't.
Yeah, it's like, and everything you've ever done that made me mad in the last 5 years.
Right. And the thing is, but inevitably what happens, okay, because in those moments, you know, when we do explode, when we do go too far, when we do let our emotions get the better of us, you know, we say things that are hurtful, and in the moment it can feel really good to say those things because it's like you're cleansing something out of your system.
It feels
for just a second, it feels fine. But then even a few minutes later or the next morning, you just end up feeling like crap. And the thing is, because in that moment, you not only caused harm to the person that you were sending those words to, but you caused harm to yourself in that. You did damage to yourself as well. And so, yeah, we want to try not to do that.
Yeah.
We want to try not to do that.
Yeah.
So I could definitely more consciously practice ahimsa by expressing my more, I guess I would say, negative feelings more openly and not pushing them down, waiting for years and for them to come up.
And then it's just
for
like
there finally
the
to be
cork
a trigger.
pops and look out.
So yeah, that is a way, even though I think I'm quite good at making ahimsa a central part of my life. That is definitely an area where I could improve.
Yeah, at least towards yourself.
Well, and towards you.
Well, yeah. And anybody else that's in the room.
Well, but the thing is, then that's the thing, is that, you know, you're... I remember once my students thought I was angry at them. You know, like I must have raised my voice a little bit or sounded slightly annoyed. And one of them was like, ooh, Sam's mad. I'm like, no, I'm not. You've never seen me mad and you never will. Yeah, because you're really the only person who has ever seen that, I think.
Oh, well, I'm honored. And why? Why me, Lauren? Why me?
Yeah, sorry because you married me.
I know.
It's your own fault. Yeah. But you know, most of the time you get the good stuff.
Oh yeah, it far outweighs any bad. That's for sure.
Good.
That's
Thanks.
for sure.
Right back at you.
Yeah. So I'd be interested to hear what other people's ideas of ahimsa are, like how you practice it, if you practice it, and how you practice it in your daily life.
Well, I mean, honestly, if you're a vegan, you do practice ahimsa in a very large way.
Sure. And I think...
whether you think about it or not, you actually do.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know about Sam, but I know myself, I've always thought of myself as a very kind person. You know, I'm the person that catches the spider and lets it out. I'm the person that, you know, don't step on an ant or whatever. And when I went vegan, it seemed that that feeling in me kind of grew.
Yeah.
Exponentially.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? And so that kind of kindness and doing no harm kind of feeling, I think it really expanded when I went vegan.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's just because when you're aware that you are doing less harm because you are not consuming animal products and you're not contributing to the torture and slaughter of billions of animals every year, you become more mindful of it in other ways as well. Yeah. So it's a beautiful thing.
It is. And on that note, I wanted to move on to the last thing we're going to talk about today, which is a documentary that we watched called Meat, M-E-A-T, Meat the Future. And this is a film by Liz Marshall, narrated by Jane Goodall. Gotta love Jane Goodall.
Gotta love Jane Goodall.
And it was produced and features the music of Moby, and there was some really good music.
There was some really good music. Go Moby.
Although we did get a chuckle at one point during the film because we always watch with subtitles because my hearing's not great. And at some point in the film, it said bongo music. And Sam's like, why are they calling this bongo music? I'm like, well, there are bongos in. There's like a bongo-esque kind of beat in the background.
Yeah, but there's 6 layers of other stuff on top of it. The bongos are not what's prevalent right
so
now.
The music was really good. It was a really well-produced film.
Yes.
And this is a film that follows a company that kind of was in the pioneering of what some people call lab-grown meat. Although in the film, this company says they don't like the term lab-grown meat because it sounds too clinical.
Well, and also it's a misnomer that sure, the initial work is done in a lab, but once the product is up and running, it's not produced in a lab any longer.
No, it's, they like to call it clean meat.
Yeah.
And this is a product that's made, they take cells from an animal, very small amount of cells from an animal, literally like a syringe worth of cells from an animal, and they can produce meat, which
massive quantities.
Yeah, massive quantities of meat based on whatever animal they took it from. And it seems from like people that were taste testing it that there's really literally no way to tell.
Right, because it is
difference.
Genetically identical to the tissue that you would get from a traditionally grown animal.
Yeah, and I'll just read you the synopsis of the film here from their website. And they say, imagine a world where real meat is produced sustainably without the need to breed, raise, and slaughter animals. This is no longer science fiction. It's now within reach. At the forefront of this urgent frontier is Mayo Clinic trained cardiologist Dr. Uma Valetti, the co-founder and CEO of Upside Foods, previously Memphis Meats, the leading startup of the cultivated meat revolution. From the world's first meatball, which cost $18,000 per pound, to the first chicken fillet and duck à l'orange.
There you go.
My French is not great, sorry. For half the cost. The film follows Valetti and his team over 5 years as the cost of production plummets and consumers eye the imminent birth of this timely industry. Exploring a game-changing solution, Meet the Future is narrated by Jane Goodall and features the music of Moby.
Yes.
So this doctor, this cardiologist, Dr. Uma Valetti, what I love about this is that he went into this purely for ethical reasons.
Yes.
This man was a successful cardiologist. Mm-hmm. And at some point in his career as a doctor, figured out that instead of saving maybe 1,000 people over his career as a cardiologist, he could affect thousands and thousands of lives, not just people, but animals.
Yes.
Lives. And he was always like intrigued by this idea of creating meat without having to raise and slaughter animals.
Right.
So I really like his intention.
Absolutely.
You know, really love his intention. And it's really fascinating to watch how they've grown this business.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely see this industry as potentially being world changing. I don't see me personally as a potential consumer for these products. I'm happy with my vegetables and my grains and my plant-based meat alternatives when we choose to use them.
Right. We're not the consumers of this product.
It's not meant for us. It's not meant for the vegans of the world. It's meant for the omnivores of the world.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a necessary development.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And it does seem that if successful, if these products can get to market at a price that people can actually afford, then the traditional meat and dairy industries will be in some trouble. And there will perhaps no longer be such a need to raise and torture our fellow sentient beings.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they can produce, as much meat as a large-scale industrial farm in a matter of weeks instead of a matter of years. Yeah, in a matter of weeks, without the environmental impact, certainly without the impact on the animals, and do it all in like a warehouse space.
Yes.
And provide...
And guess what? It would be truly antibiotic-free.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be antibiotic-free.
Yeah.
That's why they call it clean meat.
Yeah.
None of the things that the agricultural industry has to introduce into animals to keep them not healthy, but alive long enough to go to slaughter. None of those things would be present in this product. So
yeah, it looks very, very promising. And I really hope that Dr. Valetti and his team keep moving forward and do get these products to market in an affordable price point.
Yeah, I think over the course of the film, I think which went from 2017 to 2020 or 2019?
I think it was 2015 to 2020.
2015 to 2020. At one point, they were at $1,700 a pound.
Yes.
For their beef.
Yes.
And by the end of the film, they had it down to $50 a pound?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So by now, I'm sure they have it much lower than that.
Right.
And they're just one of many a large number of
companies who are working on this.
Yeah, that people are investing in and that they're working on this technology. And I think it has to happen. It definitely has to happen.
Oh, I agree. But again, it's not meant for a vegan audience.
Oh, no.
No.
The product itself is not meant for a vegan audience. No. But I recommend this film to anybody that has any concerns about our environment, about climate change, about the terrible atrocities that go on in the farming industry.
Yeah.
I think it was informative and upbeat, kind of gave you hope kind of a situation.
Yeah, there was a real positive spin on the whole thing, I thought.
Yeah, so check it out.
It was really well done.
Yeah, it's called Meet the Future. And they, much like Milked, they have a fantastic website with informational guides and also like educational guides if you're a teacher, both in the college setting or high school setting. They have educational guides, so you can screen the film, and they have like questions you can ask before and after the film. Mm-hmm. It's there's a lot of information on their website, so check it out. So I think that's all that we have this week. we're at 46 minutes. I don't know how we ramble on. I always think, well, this is going to be short.
We're good at that. I would also like to shout out for one moment the Protego Foundation. I would like to give a shout out to the Protego Foundation for shouting us out. Thank you so much for awarding us your Creator of the Week award. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're super honored.
Super honored and super proud even to be mentioned by an organization
Wands
like
up.
yours. So it's right. Wands up. Absolutely. So thank you very, very much for that.
Yeah. Big wands up for the Protego Foundation.
Yes.
And Taylor Starr, who originally let us know that they were screening our podcast, the episode that we talked about them, their entire team listened to it. And I'm like, wow.
That's really cool.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, big shout out to them.
Huge.
I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping.
You and your housekeeping.
Yeah. Hey, email us. We got new merch. I got stickers.
Dun, dun, dun. We have merch.
Yeah, I got stickers. I got buttons. I got fridge magnets.
And we still have some of those limited edition
We
t-shirts.
have some t-shirts left. And I'm going to be making up some sticker packs. And I just want to reach out to people and have you email me, some things you want us to talk about. And for the next couple of weeks, anybody that emails me is going to get a sticker pack. If you email me, give me your information, you will get a sticker pack, a Compassion and Cucumbers sticker pack and button and
fridge
magnet. Because I want to get this stuff out to the world.
There you go.
And then eventually we'll be selling them on our website.
Yes.
So, so that's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's definitely exciting.
So yeah, email us at compassionandcucumbers@gmail.com. We're still doing our fundraiser for Mockingbird Farms Animal Sanctuary.
Always.
At our Buy Me a Coffee site. That's buymeacoffee.com/cucumbers. And donate some money there, please. We're matching all the donations. What else? We got anything else? I was supposed to check to see if we had snow in June, and I forgot to check on that. So I'll report back next week on that.
I completely forgot about that.
I just wanted you to know that I didn't forget about it. I just didn't get around to doing it. Also, Sam has not done any work on the website, so we're going to have to hold her to that.
Yeah, she's allowed to call me out all she wants.
Yeah.
I just haven't.
Yeah. So 2 things that we both said that we would do last week, we did not do.
And we are deeply sorry about that.
Yeah. So email us and hold us to these things.
Right. And frankly, the reason I haven't worked on the website is because it scares me.
Why does it scare
Because
you?
the last time I worked on the website, when we were in Toronto, something went wrong. And we lost everything and I couldn't refresh the website. And I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a matter of not wanting to get it updated.
Well, don't be afraid.
I'm afraid of the website.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah. So if anybody is better at creating websites than I am and would like to volunteer to help us out, I would be greatly appreciative.
Well, I can probably take on some of it too.
Well, no, you do enough with the social media.
You're busy and stuff. So, so look to the future for number 1, weather information and some updated website stuff. Wanted to thank everybody for listening and for supporting us.
Yes.
I hope you all had a great holiday, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
We sure will.
Right here. Same bat time, same bat channel at Compassion and Cucumbers Podcast.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. If you'd like to support the Compassion and Cucumbers podcast, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/cucumbers and buy us a cup of coffee. Thanks so much for listening and for supporting us in what we're doing. We're really having a good time with it.